This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top questions and struggles. I share what to eat, how to move, and how to think to get the energy and the vitality you want in this second and better half. And today, I have a whole team here. We have a whole crew in the house. And somebody should bust out the wine potentially. And it is a party. And we're talking about a topic that comes up oh so often here. And, I am not an expert on every little thing. And this is an area where it's always so nice to bring in the recruits. So that's exactly what I've done today. And Danna Bowman and Ginny Mahar are two thyroid patient advocates who teamed up to create a diet and lifestyle support platform for thyroid patients. They are the creators of the revolutionary wellness game Thyroid 30 and hosts of Thyroid Refresh TV, a podcast featuring the world's leading experts on thyroid-specific diet and lifestyle. It's really like thyroid-central, though in my book, as I looked at the site, looked it over, it's a resource for experts, information, education, motivation, all things thyroid. So I brought them on and I want to talk about it and unpack their what, their why. Danna and Jinny, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. Okay, so it's always so good to find out, why in the world you could be a lawyer, a doctor, a plumber. Why this? Why are you doing this? And how did you come together? So maybe one at a time. Tell me, what's your why? Why thyroid?
Well, I'll go first. This is Danna. For me, why thyroid and why Thyroid Refresh, and especially Thyroid 30, starts a little bit further back when I was living with my family in Costa Rica and I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, correctly diagnosed while living out of the country, which is a big thing. So I always like to throw that in there. I was put on Synthroid and it didn't work for me. And so after a year, I started getting worse. That was a T4 only medication. And once that happened, I finally started asking the questions like, why? And what is this? And why am I not getting better? And why are all the things I hear about diet and lifestyle, and I'm doing all of that and I'm getting worse? And so I created my previous site. I'm the founder of Thyroid Nation as well and Thyroid Nation Radio. And I did that because I was feeling alone and I wanted to connect with people. So I created this platform, and eventually Ginny and I connected, and Ginny will talk a little bit about it in just a moment, but we had a lightning bolt moment, sparked the idea of our brand, and that is Thyroid 30. And if I'd had that when I was diagnosed, it would have been so much better. It would have been so great. I would have been able to connect with people around the world in a fun, positive, effective, doable way, and I wouldn't have been overwhelmed. So we created a product that we wish we would have had. And so for me, that's my why.
I love that. Yeah.
Ginny, how about you? Ginny?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just love to hear your why too.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I love the way Danna put that. I think that of Thyroid 30 as like a catapult, and it is absolutely something that we created the solution we wished we would have had as thyroid patients. And, becoming a thyroid patient advocate isn't something that you really think about wanting to do when you're a little girl.
Right.
And thyroid disease is something that happens to us, like any kind of illness or, different genetic predispositions, things like that. There are some things in life that we don't necessarily have control over, but we do have a choice in how we handle it. And I think that, I know on my personal journey, I had to come to the realization that either I could give up and accept this compromised quality of life, or I could work for change. I could work for my health as I wanted it to be. And there was a moment in my healing journey when I had sort of hit rock bottom, and that happened. And it just absolutely opened up this whole new world of true wellness. I think a lot of what we do applies to not just thyroid patients, but to anyone who really wants to optimize their health and wellness, because so much of it is that mindset shift of, I am in control of my well-being. I am the one who makes the choices. There are things that happen, but I can be in the driver's seat with some of these things, and I can become empowered and informed and try to make the best of this. And so it was life-changing, inspiring, empowering. And I wanted to help other people who were also on this journey to find their way to that. As Danna said, ideally more quickly and easily than we both did.
So, time frame wise, what are we talking about for each of you? I mean, how long ago were you first diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in 2011 with postpartum hypothyroidism, which is pretty common. I was almost immediately following the birth of my son, and this is the typical party line that you get from a conventional MD is you take supplemental thyroid hormone, and once you get your TSH level, that's like the one lab that a lot of MD use. Once you get that level in the normal range, then you should be good to go. Mm-hmm. And that didn't work for me for 4 years. I just continually kind of went downhill. My doctor kept assuring me that all these residual symptoms I had, like weight gain, debilitating brain fog, fatigue all day, every day. I mean, tired from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, depression, sleep issues, hair loss, hot and cold intolerance, all those symptoms. My doctor assured me this has nothing to do with your thyroid because your TSH is normal. And there is a lot more to it than that. There are other tests. And I also was never tested for antibodies to determine whether or not I had autoimmune hypothyroidism, known as Hashimoto's disease, which I do have that, as it turns out. And I didn't find that out until 4 years in, after I hit rock bottom. So it was a long journey of feeling pretty crummy.
Wow, I guess. And Danna, how long has it been since you were diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in 2012, and I was correctly diagnosed with Hashimoto's. However, it looked like this. I'm in the doctor's office. He says in his broken English Spanish version that I have Hashimoto's, and it is it means underactive thyroid, and I need to take my pill and, call him in the morning. Not really, but that was basically how it felt. He didn't mention autoimmune. He didn't mention lifestyle. He didn't mention gluten. He didn't mention exercise. He didn't mention adrenals. There were so many things. And so I was like, okay, I have hypothyroidism and it's called Hashimoto's now. I don't, and I take my pill, and along I went. So, here I am now this many years later, and knowing that I have an autoimmune disease and knowing how to manage that. And also just really quickly, realizing, I'm not sure I would have been very happy if he'd have said this, but realizing it's really just more than taking a pill. It's not a box fix. It's not a pill fix. It's not an overnight fix. It's really a lifestyle change. And had he told me that, I might have said, well, some cuss words and I'm not doing any of this and I'm leaving because it sounded so overwhelming, right? But it is really, you do have to take action and you have to take responsibility for your health. And that's a very hard thing to do. And so hopefully, and from what we've learned from having 4 wellness adventures and games under our belt, everybody that we've talked to has such positive things to say about Thyroid 30. And they say, if we'd had this sooner, it wouldn't have been as overwhelming. So like I said, it's just one of those things. And so we created what we wish we would have had.
I so love that. And so between you, you've got almost close to 15 years of research, doing the hard school, the hard road of figuring it out yourself, collecting all of it, and then you've just given it to people to use, and here it is. Here's what we wish we would have. Love that. And I have to tell all of our listeners, because so many of them have already done one or more Flipping 50 program, and they're very aware of what I mean when I say their SOS call, their private one-on-one call with me. Just this week, I'm finishing up a round of them, and so many times I have echoed or heard the same echo that is, oh yeah, I have thyroid disease too. And, by the way, I didn't know about this. I didn't know about these things. And I'm not even offering a thyroid program. They're like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, we got to get you some more support. So I love what you're doing. Let's talk about how you were taking this thing that nobody wants to hear. Nobody wants to hear that this is, something they may have to live with forever or deal with forever, but you're making it fun. So how do you make a game out of taking better care of your thyroid and making the changes that actually will make life more fun overall again? How have you done that? If you can tell us without giving away the whole thing.
I would love to answer that. And I just want to touch in on what you were saying, Deborah, about how many clients you have that have thyroid disease. I mean, this is a very, very common condition. 1 in 10 Americans will develop a thyroid condition at some time in their life, and women are actually 5 to 8 times more likely to develop a thyroid disorder. So for women, it's 1 in 8 have thyroid disease. And then by age 60, it goes up to 1 in 5 women will have an underactive thyroid or hypothyroidism. So this runs the gamut. And, we hear a lot of experts say the thyroid can be a canary in the coal mine. So it really is a good, can be a warning bell for us, hey, we have to look at our whole life and how we're living and our stress and, everything. How are we sleeping? What are we feeding ourselves? Are we nurturing our gut health? Are we moving enough? Are we, doing enough to reduce toxins in our home and body? All these factors play in, right? So it is a tall order, and it can be very difficult and overwhelming, especially if you don't feel well. So we really set out to simplify that process and make it more doable and fun. And I think this is what really makes us different than anything else out there, is that we use gamification technology to make those daily choices more doable. And that way, so it helps people, see the results and make the life changes that stick. We're not saying this is 30 days to perfect thyroid health. People come back to Thyroid 30 season after season because we make that lifelong process of optimizing your health fun. Now, just to let the listeners know a little bit about gamification, what that means, it means utilizing elements of game playing like point scoring, friendly competition with others, teams, rules of play, things like that, to other areas of activity. So say you're trying to reach your health goals, like losing weight or incorporating healthy habits or better sleep hygiene. We provide the motivation and accountability that is missing from a different sort of platform like a book, and I love books. I love to read. I have books absolutely were my road back to wellness. But it's that piece of suffering and isolation that we wanted to remove. We wanted to take, here's all these expert recommendations about what you need to do to feel better. We want to answer, how do we actually do it? So while people are in this 30-day wellness adventure, they're on a team, they have team-based support, they're scoring themselves every day on these common core tenets of what we call thyroid healthy living. They're receiving rewards and badges for their participation, for their performance. You earn, like, every time you play, you get a butterfly badge. I mean, all those things like build. And it might sound silly to some people. We've certainly had some people say, well, a badge, what's that? you would be surprised. We're simple creatures. You would be surprised because a lot of us are a little bit more competitive than we realize.
Well,
and just being in that group atmosphere, the dynamics of that group atmosphere are so energizing and motivating and fun and beautiful. And then you incorporate that motivation of the daily score, and people come back to us over and over and say, this is really changing the way I make my choices throughout the day, because I know I've got to fill out that scorecard at the end of the day. So I don't want to get dinged a point for eating that donut.
No, I want to level. I want to level up, and that's kind of the world we live in right now. I have teenagers, and they are on their screen, and parents understand what buying a skin means, or buying something virtual that you pay $2 or $5 for a game or something, and there's nothing tangible. You can't hold the whatever it is that you bought. It's just this thing in the air, and gamification is that, but it's rewarding. And so that's why people keep coming back and back for more. And so we did want to incorporate that kind of level of play in the game, and it's working, and it's fun. And I'm all about fun. I mean, I really wanted this. Anybody who knows me, Deborah and I just actually had the opportunity to get to meet in person again for, I guess, the second time. And I'm all about fun. And I really wanted that to be an underlying theme, because thyroid disease is not fun. And we liken our game to a challenge, but we didn't want to call it a challenge because thyroid patients have enough challenges as it is. So we call it a wellness adventure, and we love it. It's fun. You get to connect with people each day, and you have to get a point. And by doing that, we call it relish, one of the 8 R's, and you have to relish a small victory. So you're supporting yourself. You're putting positivity to it, because it can be kind of daunting and depressing and not fun. So we wanted to pull the fun parts out. So that's what we did.
I so love that. So many great elements in there. And I think it bears saying. So, I'm stating the obvious, but also think that that's super important. So you've really tapped into psychology. I mean, like psychology of these badges. I mean, we can't resist completion. So if we start a set, like we want to get all the badges, right?
Yeah.
And even if we're playing and we know that we're doing that, it still works. It's like little tricks you can play, eating with a salad size or dessert size plate as opposed to the full size plate. Even though you're doing that, it works. You see a full plate. Yeah. And so there's no that it has to be hidden from you. You actually can do this for yourself, but yet we don't, right? So you guys setting that makes it so much more easy. And Danna, you mentioned this, and I want to say this because I think this piece is so important. Ironically, I was outside doing my little run walk, and I'm becoming a walker in Scottsdale because it's only triple digits here anyway. But I was thinking about, what is coming up in my schedule today. And I was thinking about introducing you and what to say. And it didn't come out in the introduction, but I do want to say this just for all listeners, because hopefully my listeners know that by now. I don't think lightly about people that I have on as guests. It's like my listeners are my friends and have some trust in who I share. And, when we were together, Danna, I think about this often when I meet somebody new, and especially at a conference where we're surrounded with lots of people who there's so many people to catch up with. And there's some, quite celebrities there, if you will, that are celebrity status. And yet it's easy when you bump into someone and you're talking to them to feel that the person you might be talking to is not actually there. They're looking around the room for the next conversation, or maybe someone else they need to be seeing or be seen with. And that wasn't true of you. You were right there. We were very connected. And I think that just speaks so well of who you are.
Mhm.
And, when there's a lot of shiny pennies or people in the room, it's easy to be distracted. And yet, you're so very personal and so very, authentic. And I just wanted to make
Mhm.
sure that listeners realize that that's a big part of my choice in deciding, who comes on and who do we let into our little Flipping 50 exclusive world here.
Aw.
Thank you. That means so much to me, and I feel like I'm already a member of the tribe because, um, even though we want to keep this evergreen, I will be turning 50 here in a few weeks. So I'm kind of excited. I'm trying to bring this in with positivity and warmth and happiness, and so far it's happening. So anyway, thank you.
Well, awesome. Yeah,
Thank you.
congratulations. So truly you're in the big inner circle, but there's never been a better time to be, flipping 50.
Mhm.
I mean, we're really changing the trajectory of, how we think about aging, what we're willing to accept. So I love that. But let's circle back to thyroid because given your background, both of you, I mean, you're experts who unknowingly you didn't know you wanted to become an expert in this, but it's been bestowed on
Mhm.
you. So, what mistakes are newly diagnosed and given my history with just interviewing people who've had thyroid for a while who are unknown or unknowingly making mistakes potentially that are inhibiting their progress, what mistakes are newly diagnosed or otherwise thyroid patients making?
Hmm. Do you want to take
Well,
that,
I
Danna?
do.
Or?
I'll take a couple of points. For me, the mistake is, not believing I could do it, and also
Mm.
not asking questions. Just kind of taking verbatim what the doctor said, and like I said, that's exactly what I did. I took the pill and I went on, and that's a huge mistake that I made. And also not getting the right lab tests, not asking once I realized. I really want to shout that from the rooftops to everybody. I have friends who are like, yeah, thyroid, I know. Yeah, I checked it because of you, and you're my friend, Danna. I asked the doctor for a thyroid test, okay, and it came back okay. So, all right, just so you know. And I'm like, that's not it. The right thyroid test. There are more than just one. It's a thyroid lab panel. And had I known that, I would have done some things differently. So for me, those are the few mistakes I wish I would have done differently or not made. And I would like to change that for the world. Jenny probably has some others too.
Hmm. Oh, I mean, yeah, that one, Danna, is definitely top of the list. Is especially with hypothyroidism, um, many MDs only test TSH, and really, it's important to request a full thyroid panel and educate yourself about Hashimoto's as well, because most people who are diagnosed with hypothyroidism have Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune condition. And that just opens up a whole nother level of knowledge for you to understand what's going on in your body so that you can feel as well as you possibly can in spite of this diagnosis. Um, and just knowing too that diet and lifestyle do matter, and mindset. Diet, lifestyle, and mindset make a huge difference in our health. I mean, before I started looking at, different inflammatory foods I was eating and figuring out different food sensitivities I had, I felt awful, as we talked about earlier. And it was really just a matter of a month or two after starting to make some of these changes, coming into this whole world of knowledge and things that I could do to optimize my health, where things really started to turn around. And, I say I got my life and my energy back, and that is not an overstatement at all. It's, there are things that you can do. In addition to medication, that can make a huge difference with those residual symptoms like the brain fog, the fatigue, depression, weight issues, sleep issues, joint pain, etc. But yeah, I guess the last thing I would add to that is just I wish I would have found support sooner. You said something that really rang true with me before we started recording, Deborah, and that's that we suffer in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is what a truth. We suffer in isolation and we're literally left in the dark about things. I didn't know. I think about those first 4 years of my son's life, so tired, just climbing this uphill battle every day. And it didn't have to be that way. If I had reached out sooner, found support sooner, found the information sooner, and harnessed that power of community that we all have at our fingertips today with the internet. So
I love that. Yeah. And the power of a village, right? I often say there's things that I love to hate about social media, but certainly one of the things that I love is that it does open up the world. And that means a world of experts. If we choose to look in the right places, we'll find the right answers. And I want to come back to, you talked a lot about food being a big part of making the right decisions, you understanding what it was that you needed to eat. And I know from snooping around, because it's what I do, that you've got a grocery guide. And so with your permission, I'm going to share that link with everybody in the show notes. And, you talk a lot about, there are a lot of things that you're told not to eat, can't eat this, can't eat that, but, you're all about fun. And so you've provided a good list of, these are all good things. You can have these. And so definitely want to share that and empower all of our listeners as well. But you've got a program. So we talked about the whole gamification of Thyroid 30. What if somebody listening is really like, forget the grocery list, I need help right now, help me to do this, help me to make it a little bit more fun, and I'd love to in 30 days feel better. What is somebody maybe saying or thinking before they join the program if they're a great candidate?
Ginny, why don't you take this one? I think you were talking about it before.
Okay. I think one of the things that we hear most often is that before Thyroid 30, I just was looking at the problems. These are all the problems I have, and I feel stuck. And then, after Thyroid 30, feeling like now I have some tools and things that I can do to help myself feel better. And if somebody wanted to jump right into the program, they can do that. Our enrollment happens 4 times a year, so once per season. And they can come to thyroidrefresh.com/thyroid30 if they want to check that out. But I think that, what we really are trying to do is help people find that shift where they understand that, there isn't a silver bullet, a magical fix, and all these things that we can do really are the key to getting our lives and energy back.
Fantastic. Well said. Okay. Are you guys sitting down? Yep. Okay. So this is like the heat round. All right. So we're gamifying.
Right.
Is there a question I should have asked you that I missed?
Well, I don't know if you would have known to ask this, but something we didn't mention was that we built this to be customizable so that you could take it and use it with any of your health coaches, Deborah's, your other thyroid experts, Dr. Mark Hyman or Isabella Wentz or whoever you're working with, any doctor, any MD, you can customize this program to situate yourself up for success because it's fully customizable. So we're like the bridge between the doctor and the patient. So that's one of the things that we didn't get to talk about. And I think it's really important. We work with the doctors. So we complement the doctors. They give you the what and we give you the how. So that's one of the things we didn't talk on.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. And Ginny, anything that you want to add? You guys have been so polite, not stepping on each other's toes. Anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, well, I think we talked so much about the how, right? So there's all these recommendations about what to do, and we try to address how to do it. And I don't know that we made it clear that we offer all these resources. It's like everything you need in one place. So there's everything from healing meditations to thyroid-friendly recipes, meal plans, expert-written health articles. Our family of contributors is amazing and includes you, Deborah. And we've got a collection of thyroid-friendly workouts on the site. And we're so excited to have some amazing workouts from you, Deborah. You have one that's a better than bar, like a, sort of takes all the good from bar classes and leaves out the bad, and a strength training at home series that is just incredible. So that was one way we tried to really simplify the process for people, is by, taking that time spent scouring the internet for where are recipes I can eat and what about exercise and all this stuff, and put it in one convenient place for people. So we give people all those resources as well that they'll need throughout the 30-day wellness adventure.
And one little add on there is that we made it bite-sized. We made everything very doable. You're not going to find long programs or long, 2-hour meditations or hour meditations. I think we have some, 20-minute things here and there and 10-minute things here. And Ginny's got some cooking series, cooking classes and kitchen hacks and little videos and things, because we know we're all busy, plus our attention span, and we're tired and fatigued. So we tried very, very consciously and intentionally to put our love in it, but also to make it very bite-sized so that it was very doable for people.
Yeah. To reduce the overwhelm.
Perfect. Very realistic. Love it. Thank you both for being here. Thank you so very much. And listeners, do you have a question? Did I miss a question you have? Please leave it below the show link at flipping50.com/thyroid refresh. I love hearing from you. I'm sure Danna and Ginny would love to as well. If this episode was helpful, please leave a rating in iTunes and then share it with a friend. Surround yourself with a supportive community of women on the same journey. To get the most from this week's episode, check out today's show notes at flipping50.com. Again, that's /thyroid refresh, where you'll find the juicy free download for that grocery list, resources that take you directly to check out Thyroid 30, as we mentioned, and all the ways you can get social with Thyroid Refresh. What are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 together.